What's up, fam? Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Mediazewtv. Things just keep getting interesting in the world. Hope everybody's doing well and in good spirits and in good health. But today we're diving into a heated moment that's reignited tensions around the January 6th Capitol attacks. And it involves a confrontation between enriquetarrio, the former leader of the Proud Boys, and Michael Fanone, a former Capitol police officer who was brutally assaulted during the riots. What was supposed to be a chance for a dialogue quickly turned into a shouting match. And we'll go ahead and take a look at that. But before we get started, can you please go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button? So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at the confrontation.
You guys are breaking the sentence here. You sat there, you laughed for like 22 fucking years. Now you don't even want to look at my eyes. You fucking coward. You were a coward that day. You were a coward after.
Just go home. Just go home. You're a traitor to this country.
Yeah, so are you,
You're a traitor to this country.
You're a fucking traitor.
You're a fucking
piece
traitor
of
to
shit.
this country.
That's why they fired your ass, and that's why your own people turned on you, you piece of shit. You and your fucking boy over here. You fucking failure.
Go
And the other one's another fucking failure. A little failure. Run from me, motherfucker. Run from me.
He's not staying in the hotel. He's trespassing.
You fucking piece of shit. Run from me.
Fuck you.
Oh, you can say that while you're over there, motherfucker. You didn't do shit.
Bald-headed bitch. Fuck you. Tourette's, man.
Like, wow. Now, here's the rundown. Enriquetarrio was recently pardoned by Donald Trump after serving time for his role in orchestrating the January 6th attack. He approached Officer Michael Fanone. Now, Officer Fanone is no stranger to the spotlight. He's been very vocal about the trauma that he endured on January 6th. He was dragged into the mob, beaten, tased, and even suffered a heart attack. But since leaving law enforcement, he's been pushing for accountability for everyone involved in the attack. Now, Tarrio, on the other hand, wasn't physically at the Capitol on January 6th, but he was convicted of helping plan the riots. He received a 22-year sentence, but Donald Trump pardoned him on January 20th of this year, which, as you can imagine, sparked a lot of outrage, especially among people like Fanone, who were on the front lines that day. So Tarrio approaches Officer Fanone, and it's clear right away that this isn't going to be some kind of kumbaya moment. And Officer Fanone doesn't hold back. He looks at Tarrio and says, "You are a fucking traitor to this country." I mean, that's about as clear as it gets. You know, he's not interested in a civil conversation with someone he sees as directly responsible for the chaos and violence of that day on January 6th. And honestly, you know, can you really blame him? Officer Fanone's life has been a living hell since that day. He's been very outspoken about how Donald Trump and others continue to downplay what happened on that day. He's called out the pardons, the lack of accountability, and the way people like Tarrio seem to keep getting a free pass despite their roles in the attack. Now, let's talk about that pardon for a second. Tarrio's walking around in this grunt-style gear with the American flag on it, and Officer Fanone's just like, how dare you? This is a guy who was convicted of betraying the country, and now he's out here acting like some kind of patriot. Yes, it's infuriating for a lot of people, especially veterans and law enforcement officers, who feel like their sacrifices are being disrespected. And Fanone's not alone in feeling that way. A lot of people are angry about these pardons. They see it as Donald Trump protecting his so-called army. People are loyal only to him, even if it means committing crimes against the country. And it's a pretty dark look at where things might be headed. Fanone's been very clear about this. He said that Donald Trump violated Section 3 of the 14th Amendment by pardoning these guys. That's the part of the Constitution that deals with insurrection and disqualifies people from holding office if they've engaged in rebellion against the government. Officer Fanone's argument is that by pardoning Tarrio and others, Trump is essentially giving aid and comfort to traitors, which, let's be real, is a pretty strong accusation. But Fanone's not backing down. Officer Fanone has been pushing for accountability at every turn, and he's not afraid to call out what he sees as a threat to our democracy. He's even talked about how some people think Donald Trump is waiting for an excuse to install martial law or stop elections altogether. It's a very scary thought, but it's one that's being talked about out there. And it's not just Officer Fanone. A lot of people are worried about what's next. There's this fear that Trump and his allies are setting the stage for something bigger, maybe even another reach tag moment, where they use chaos or violence to justify taking control. It's a lot to unpack, but it's clear that the tensions from January 6th are far from over. Then there's Tarrio himself. Fanone described him as this guy who's stuck in some kind of arrested development, like the angry kid in junior high who starts fights just to prove he's tough. And honestly, that's a pretty spot on description. These are the kind of guys who constantly try to prove their masculinity, not just to the world, but to themselves. It's all rooted in insecurity. And that insecurity can be very dangerous. It's like Fanone said, being that insecure is like being dumb or even dead. You don't even realize it, but everyone around you has to deal with it and the fallout that comes with it. And in Tarrio's case, the fallout was the January 6th attack on the Capitol in 2021. It's a heavy conversation, but it's one that we all need to have. The events of January 6th and the people involved are still shaping our politics today. And as long as there are people like Fanone fighting for accountability, I promise you we'll keep talking about it. So thanks for joining me on another episode of Mediazewtv. And remember, put God first, stay informed, stay engaged, and love your neighbor.